Hello, and today I'm going to be talking about probably the biggest problem of the century, and it is carbon dioxide. But not actually the carbon dioxide itself, it is the global warming. And as National Geographic defines it, it is a long-term shift in global or regional climate patterns. Often, climate change refers specifically to the rise in global temperature from the mid-20th century to present. Now that we know what climate change is, let's go back a couple centuries and figure out where it really started. It all started in the 18th century during the Industrial Revolution. Industrial Revolution is a transition from handmade methods to the machines. And now that we know how it all started, let's move on to the science behind global warming. And now let's dissect the complex system that is global warming. Thanks to Citizens Climate Lobby, I was able to find out the answer. So the Earth gets heat from the sun and normally sends all of that heat right back. But certain gases, also known as greenhouse gases, actually trap the heat inside, keeping the temperature higher than it would normally be without it. Carbon dioxide, also known as CO2, is the most important one of all of them. If there was no carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, we would all freeze. But just a tiny amount keeps the Earth warm enough to sustain life. So, carbon dioxide is actually turning out to be very helpful, not only harmful in this case of scenario. So now that we have talked about the good side of carbon dioxide, let's also talk about the negatives. So since the Industrial Revolution, even to this day, most of the machines use fuel, which when burnt, produces carbon dioxide. You might ask,
but how is it bad?
Well, a lot of carbon dioxide is bad as well, because now global temperature is way higher than it's supposed to be.
And why does that matter?
Well, we have such things called the glaciers, and as I learned from the movie I watched, I will link it in the description. In the Greenland itself, there's 23 feet of water, which means that if it completely melts down, the entire ocean will rise by 23 feet. And guess what's that gonna do? Well, 2/3 of the major cities in the world are actually located about 60 feet away from the ocean, which means cities like Miami, like Sydney, all gonna go underwater, which would cause a lot of people dying, losing their houses, which, to be honest, really wouldn't be good for anybody. Moving on to the solutions that will save the environment. Number one is basically the reason why I'm filming in those kind of areas is plants. Plants actually use carbon dioxide to feed themselves. Because they need glucose, they take carbon dioxide and they break it down. They take the carbon from the carbon dioxide and we're left with O2, which is oxygen. However, plants cannot just consume every single part of the carbon dioxide we have on Earth. The reason why is there's not a lot of plants. So trees are very important. And I would say probably every single person that is watching right now can plant a tree. And if we plant 1.2 billion trees, which is about 1/6 of the world population, which means if 1 out of 6 people plants a tree, then we can save worth of decades of global warming. And in the past decades, well, as you see right here, our graph has been only exponentially going up. Now let's move on to a couple of more solutions. Well, here's the chart right here. As you see, animals are a big part of global warming. So if we take it and round it up just a little bit, the farm animals actually produce about 7% of all the global warming. So I know it's mostly impossible, but if all of us would skip a meat meal every day or so, just one meal a day where you would normally eat meat, if you skip that meal, that would make a lot of difference as well. But that is gonna be it. That was my presentation on global warming. Hope you enjoyed and hope you learned something from it. And have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Bring it back down. They think it's a game right now, but it ain't the same right now. Know my name right now. Back where I came from now. We gon' live it up till we bring it back down.